That's good to know. We sometimes get caught up in destinations. We get caught up in timelines. We get caught up in what we're going to do, when, and how. We get caught up in what happened yesterday, last year, or when we were children, and then we project as to what might happen 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and so on. The challenge with all of this is that it prevents us from being present in this now moment, which is the only point of creation. So our journey to wholeness is a journey of being present in the life that we have, not the one we wish we had, the one we wish we didn't have, but rather the one that we do have. I recently was teaching from a book called Heart-Centered Metaphysics. And one of the things that the writer mentioned in there is that whatever it is that you love will grow, will be attracted to you. And that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? The challenge for most of us is that what we love is the drama, the discord, the pain, and the suffering. Now, you might say, no, I don't love that. But the truth is, it's what you focus on. And when we focus on that discord, the energy of that focus is the energy of our oneness with it, which is love. Love means oneness, unity. Whatever we focus on, we are attracting into our lives. So when we're on a journey to wholeness, which I think most of us are, we are spiritual beings in the process of becoming, as Reverend Evan would say. So we're on this journey. But most of us have missed the point of journeying, and we've bought into the idea that we should be somewhere. If you're 40, you should be somewhere. If you're 50, you should be somewhere. If you're young and just got married, maybe you should be having children now. Or if you've just had children, then maybe they should be going to school or graduating. There's a whole bunch of time spent where we focus on something out here, or we dwell on the past pains and hurts that have happened. And what it does is it takes us out of the present moment, which takes us out of our place of power. You see, in the moment, we are powerful. In this now moment, I can create anything. In this now moment, there's possibility, opportunity, but only now, because now is the only point in time. It's the only thing that exists. So in order for us to experience wholeness, we have to be present with what is. Now, sometimes what is not very comfortable, right? Sometimes what is looks maybe painful or ugly or disagreeable. But the fact is, what is. And you cannot change what is. However, if you will surrender into it, if you will allow yourself to be present with whatever is going on right here, right now, you will in fact find your way through the experience so that you might create something bigger, better, brighter. But the only place you can create that is now. So if there's something going on in your life that's particularly challenging, you have a choice. You can focus on the challenge. You can focus on the difficulty. You can focus on the, I hate this, it's horrible, it's awful, I want it gone. And just remember that whatever you resist persists. Or you can sit back and go, wow, this is really uncomfortable. Okay, so I'm not loving it, but it is what it is, so now what? And then we begin with hope and love and understanding how the universe works. We begin to sit with the idea that this too is God and this too is good. I might not be able to see it at this moment, but I'm going to make a demand on the universe to see the good in this moment. Life is constantly up and down, right? It's always taking us somewhere. Well, we came into this life experience to experience living. not to be joyful 24/7, but to experience living. And in order to experience living, there has to be opposites. There has to be something that shows us the difference, because that's the only way we can have an experience. You'll know a really good day if you've had 4 really bad ones and all of a sudden there's a good one. You go, whoa, yay. Thank God for that. But you can only have that good one if you allow yourself to know that whatever's happening in this moment is a gift and a blessing. And if I willingly look at it and surrender into it and feel it and be with it, it is going to lead me through it and out of it and to something new if I can begin to change my thinking in such a way. I love today's reading. We must learn to use our thinking faculty. I don't know how many people I've talked to about the art of meditation, and what I hear all the time is I can't meditate because my mind is going all over the place. Yes, it is. And that's exactly why we need to meditate. We need to sit with that wild mind that is moving in 25 directions all at once and begin to sit with it and love it and notice it. And if we will sit in meditation and sit in the silence, we'll begin to see where it is that our mind is going, and that will help us to understand why our life looks the way it looks. Imagine a little child, 3 or 4 years old, running around a candy store with nobody paying attention, and then turning them loose in the china shop after they've had all that sugar and caffeine. We wouldn't do that, would we? But it's what we're doing with our thinking. We're allowing it to run rampant. We're allowing it to do whatever it wants to do because we think we have no control over it. Well, come on. Who's thinking your thoughts anyway? I know I'm not thinking your thoughts. I've got enough of my own. We are the ones thinking the thoughts that we're thinking, and the thoughts that we're thinking are creating the lives that we're living. Do you love your life right now, or is there something about it that you would like to see improved or altered or changed? We are the creators. We co-create with God the lives that we're now living. If there's something about it that we want to be different, we have to focus on being fully present, integrating everything and seeing the good in every experience. In the book of Genesis, it says that whatever you name a thing, that's what it will be for you. And we so often take a look at our lives and we name it bad or wrong or stupid or dumb. We talk to ourselves like we're idiots sometimes. We say things, I am this, I am that, I am the other thing. And what we need to remember is I am divine. Say that, I am divine. I am divine. Make me believe it.
I am divine.
Make me believe it.
I am divine.
Come on, make me believe it.
I am divine.
Better. The idea that I'm divine changes everything. In that moment, I can look at whatever my current reality is and know that it is changing because my divinity, my willingness to live the Christ life allows me to see the world in a brand new way and allows me to move with hope and faith. Because I understand how the universe works, I can begin to live in it and allow it to carry me and move me to greater things. I can look at today and go, there's some kind of gift in this. On Friday afternoon, I got a phone call from my son telling me that his dad, my ex-husband and my very dear friend, was in hospital and that he had had a headache the day before, went into emergency, and is now a quadriplegic. And I thought, wow, how does that happen? How does a healthy 62-year-old person wake up with a headache and within 24 hours be a quadriplegic? No accident, nothing, no traumas, nothing happened. So we don't know how that happened. But in my conversations with Ken, because he doesn't believe in church, he doesn't believe in God, but he believes in whatever it is that I do. So that's good. I'll be his conduit to a higher knowing. And we were talking about life and how cells create and reproduce and just the journey to wholeness. And we'll be talking again later today. What I know for certain is that there is a gift and a blessing in this, not just for Ken or his family, his sons, for me. There is an opportunity here to begin to look at life and living from a new perspective, because in the moment that you can no longer do anything, it really changes your perspective. So right now, he's struggling, and that makes perfect sense. But what I know is this too is God. I don't know how the good comes from this. I don't know yet. His condition is one that's very, very rare. Most doctors will never see it in their lifetimes. But it is what it is. And what is cannot be changed. However, here's what I know for certain. Christ heals. I don't know what that looks like, and I don't need to know. What I know for certain is that this journey that we're on is always good. Now, there are moments when it's really difficult to see that, aren't there? There's moments when we look at it and go, well, this can't be considered good. But if we were able to see the grand scheme, then maybe we would be able to see how it all fits together. It's like a huge puzzle when you first dump out a box of 1,000-piece puzzle, and if you didn't have a picture to go by, it would be a little overwhelming. And that's kind of life. That's kind of our journey, is we've got all of this stuff happening, all of these events occurring, all of this time passing us by. And somehow we have to fit all the little pieces together. But we don't have a picture of the outcome, do we? We don't know what the end looks like, or when it looks like, how it looks like. We don't know any of that. So here we are in this life experience with all our little pieces, and we're trying to fit them together. And some days it looks like none of them go. But the reality is, in this too is God, and in this too is good. It's up to us to remember that. For me this weekend, it's up to me to remember for Ken. When we pray for somebody, it's not that we're doing something to them. It's not that we're making them better, because we can't. The only healing I can do for myself is for myself, and the only healing Ken can do is for himself. But I can be a conduit that helps him to remember who he really is. And that's what prayer's all about. It's about me remembering divine perfection so that he might remember it, and in remembering it may heal his body. Does that make sense? See, the journey to wholeness is not about somebody doing something for us, because we can only get there on our own, by ourselves. We can only get to that place of awakened awareness on our own path, in our own way, on our own journey. And when we come to an obstacle, sometimes we'll turn to a friend or a relative or a book to find an answer. It's not there. We must turn within. The journey to wholeness is that inward journey of awakening to the Christ within us and knowing that in this experience there is only love, there is only goodness, there is only oneness. And because there is oneness, all that I have need of will always be there. So I want to turn to that in every moment. In every moment, I want to remind myself, and when I can't, when I first got the news on Friday, I was a little distraught. I thought, what? We're the same age, and one minute he's playing golf with his son, and the next minute he can't walk. So I phoned my good friend and said, please treat for me, because I need to change my thinking, because right now I'm a little scared. I'm scared that the father of my children is going to die this weekend. I'm afraid that, he'll never walk again or move again or whatever, and that this will impact not only his life, but the lives of my sons. And so she did treatment for me to clear my mind, So in every moment, it's up to us to take responsibility for the thoughts that we are thinking. The world is going to happen. Things are going to happen. Events are going to happen. People are going to show up in our lives, and our thoughts are going to be pulled in many different directions. We must stop that. We must stop that. We must take control of our thinking and begin to live from that place of I am one with God. Now, always, and forever. And because of that, this too is good, this too is God, and I demand to see the blessing. As we do that constantly and continuously, as we train our thinking to be more positive than negative, as we begin to see the possibility for wholeness and beauty and grace and goodness, as we do that, our world transforms and our bodies change. Our health is restored. Our well-being is restored. Life as we know it becomes brighter and sweeter, even with the bumps in the road, because we know we can navigate them. Like riding a roller coaster, sometimes it's fun to have some drama. And especially when we get on the other side of it and we go, wow, I healed that, or I lived through that. Hallelujah. Right? We're on a journey. Whether we like it or not, there is no destination. We're on a journey. Our only purpose here is to live fully. The only way we can live fully is to live in the now moment, because it's the only thing that exists. Life is going to throw us curveballs. It will. There will be days when we don't understand why things are happening the way they're happening. It's okay. We don't need to. In every moment of every hour of every day, we must control our thinking and bring it back to a place of love and oneness. We must look at the person in front of us that is annoying us on any given day, because that happens, right? Driving on the 401, sitting on the subway, or standing on the subway during rush hour, or trying to get on the subway during rush hour, not being able to, or having the subway break down just after you get on, and then you got to walk out in the dark. All sorts of opportunities to see good. But sometimes when those things happen, we just get angry and frustrated. Now, what I said earlier is that whatever you love, you attract to you. Well, to love it means you focus on it. And when we focus on how horrible something is, guess what? We get more of the same. You know that morning when you wake up and stub your toe and, you curse about that, and then you go on and you spill coffee on your new shirt and you don't have another clean one, so you're scrambling, plus you're a bit burnt and, going, oh man, this is terrible. And then you leave, and of course you miss the bus, which means you're going to be late for the subway, which means you're going to be late for work, which means your boss is going to yell at you. It's like, the minute something bad happens and we focus on that, everything lines up, doesn't it? Yes. Everything lines up to match it. So what we want to do instead is stub our toe and then sit and rub it and love it and heal it and smile and go, this too is good. This too is good. I'll get there, get an ice pack. We want to change our thinking in that moment, and instead of, really focusing on how bad and terrible it is, to recognize that maybe it's a message to slow down. You see, everything that happens, every person who comes into our lives, everything that's going on is orchestrated from within us, and it's creating for us an opportunity to see where we're headed, to see what we've put in place. And so if there's something that we're not crazy about, something we don't like, then it's up to us to just notice. So I've been having back issues, and I have this thing called spinal stenosis. So I have numbness in my leg, and it's sometimes hard to walk. So I've been sitting with that lately, going, okay, now what? And allowing myself in my meditation to begin to see the spinal column expanding rather than narrowing. Beginning to see the nerves communicating more clearly. And at the same time, seeing the doctor and stuff to do whatever. What's interesting is today I'm standing pain-free, and this would be the first time I've been able to stand this long without any pain. At Agape, where I preach, I have been sitting to do my Sunday talks because I couldn't stand for half an hour. Today I'll leave here and go there and I'll be able to stand. There's something that happens when we choose to, instead of focusing on the perceived problem, to begin to look at it as an opportunity to improve our spiritual practice. See, we get busy, don't we? We get busy, we get distracted. And in that distraction, we begin to have things happen to us which are pulling our attention back, if we would remember that. Our journey to wholeness is really our journey to remembering, to practice. You see, we need to practice every day because we've got news and we've got people and we've got traffic and we've got bills and we got all kinds of stuff pulling our attention from our good and making it look like things are really bad. I mean, just watch the CP24 feed for a little while. Shooting here, stabbing there, accident here, pedestrian run over here. It's like, hello. And then it repeats over and over and over again. By the time you get to the end of a 24-hour cycle, you think, 45 people have been murdered, right? 70 pedestrians struck, thousands of car crashes. Because it repeats, and our mind is this sponge, and it takes all this information in. And the funny thing about the mind is that it doesn't really understand or accept the difference between something real or imagined. And so if we keep feeding it negative, hello, our life is going to look a bit messy. Not because we're bad people, but simply because we forgot to train ourselves to think in an orderly way. We've forgotten that thoughts are things. Thoughts create. This teaching is so incredibly simple, it's frightening. But we don't accept it because we like things that are complicated. Right? How often have you said to yourself, I don't know. Just today even. I don't know. You know that's a lie, right? It is not possible for you to not know. Because you're one with all that is. So the knowledge is there. Your not knowing is a story you're telling yourselves so that you can, not do something. Right? How about I'll try? I'll try. No. There is no try. Do or don't do. This journey that we're on requires us to be conscious, active, present. In the now moment. You see, the past doesn't exist. It's already done, can't change it. The future doesn't exist. So anytime we spend thinking about those two places, we are actually powerless now. And because now is the point of creation, if we want something new and different in our lives, then we must come to the present moment with an awakened mind and heart so that we can begin to love ourselves so completely and totally that we can begin to express the Christ consciousness, allowing us to live in our divinity. And that happens in the moment that we allow it. So healing is nothing magical or mystical. It's completely natural. Our bodies are created healthy. Our bodies are created whole. Our bodies respond to our thinking. One of the things that we know from science is that cells completely recycle or regrow or fix or change or whatever. Like the cells in your eyes, I think, change every day. You know, some die, some new ones come. If that's the case, why do we age? Good question, right? We know health is natural because we'll get a bad cold or a flu and then we'll be healthy again. So health must be kind of the norm. And then there's interruptions that happen. And then if we focus on our health and wholeness, we can restore it. Does that make sense? But nobody can do it for us. We have to do it for ourselves. See, we have to see, the Reverend Dr. Sheila McKeithen came to this teaching when she was given a life sentence. You're going to die. And she was like, okay, no. And she healed herself. She healed herself using this teaching. She went from death to life and is still here as president of our organization. Hello. That should be an example for us, right? That was her spiritual practice becoming very focused. Do we need a death sentence to become focused? Do we need someone to tell us there will not be a tomorrow if we don't get focused? Could we not just get focused? Could we not begin to look at ourselves from a new light, beginning to see that God created us perfect, whole, and complete, that who we are is enough? That if we will just surrender in each moment to the divinity within us, we will have the answers that we need to move us forward and to change our experience if it's something we want to change. We will learn to come to terms with what is. You know, we look at somebody like Stephen Hawking, who got so sick so young in life with a terminal disease. But he didn't let it stop him, did he? He continued to create and work and do all manner of stuff, even with a body that couldn't function, because it didn't matter. It was his mind that was so brilliant. And it was his mind that allowed him to create all the things that he did. It's such an inspiration to look at something like that. We've seen people who have been told they'll never walk again and do. People who have terminal cancer and heal it. How does that happen? Orderly thinking. Where are we focusing our attention? Most of us focus on the problem. I watch teenagers because I have lots of them around me these days. My daughter has lots of friends. And I watch their focus. Scary. They're focused on the drama. They got to be right rather than happy in every single moment. It's hilarious. The competition's to be the sickest or the poorest it's hilarious. Competition's to find boyfriends or girlfriends, and it's like, okay, you guys, like, whoa, slow down. And I love listening to my child, who can be just as dramatic as the rest of them, but who will sit back and go, come on, you guys. What do you need a boyfriend for? We're only 14. Any boyfriend you have today will be gone in a week and you'll get a different one. Whoever you meet today, you're not going to marry that person most likely. You're going to move on. It's up to us. It's up to us to think thoughts that create the life we want to live. Let's stop thinking the thoughts we hate. We do this, don't we? Everything we don't like about our past, we focus on and think about it constantly. You will not believe what my mother did. You won't believe it. My dad, you know what he did? And because of them, look where I am. Or in spite of them. We are creative, dynamic beings of love and light. We're powerful, creative, enough. How we're created is perfect. We're We're created as perfect, whole, and complete. There's nothing about me or about you that needs to be altered or changed. All that needs to happen is we need to look at ourselves from a new perspective. We can't see ourselves as broken and flawed and expect life to be a bed of roses, although that would be kind of prickly. We want to see ourselves the way God created us, the way God would see us if God had eyes. We are created perfect, whole, and complete. It's time that we began to look at ourselves from that understanding. We don't need to be taller or shorter. We don't need to be thinner or bigger. We don't need to be smarter. We don't need anything. We need to look at ourselves with absolute love and acceptance. And in doing that, we will experience our wholeness. Most of us look at ourselves and we see the things that we deem bad. Oh, if somebody knew this about me, ooh. The truth is, God created me in its image and likeness. God created you in its image and likeness. Shouldn't that be enough? Shouldn't we be good with that? I know a young boy who was born in a female body and is struggling to re-identify or have the world re-identify. And watching the challenge that creates. Why? Because we live in a world that everybody has decided it has to be this way or this way. And because now there's all kind of gender conversations going on, we're a little confused as to what to do with that. What we want to remember is absolute wholeness. If we will remember that every person is created in the image likeness of God, we will begin to see that however a person identifies or however a person feels about themselves, that too is perfect, whole, and complete. That somehow this idea of gender that's becoming so incredibly fluid or changing at the moment is really important to the unfolding of the whole. Because each person within that one universal idea is moving the whole of the planet, the whole of humanity, to a new sense of understanding. What is the first thing we say when somebody has a baby? Is it a boy or is it a girl? It really is the first thing. We don't know how to do it any different. We have friends that had a baby recently, and they were not wanting to discuss gender. But even for them, it became difficult, and eventually we found out he was a boy, at least for now. The whole idea, right? We have to change our thinking. We have to change our thinking. The world is changing. Why? Because if you think about it, who needs to know if you're a boy or a girl? The only person really is your doctor, because, our anatomy is a little different. But is there any reason why I need to have on my driver's license that I'm female? Is there any reason why I need to put on a job application or a credit application that I'm female? Really? All you got to do is look at me, you can probably figure it out. But the truth is that there's things about life that we don't understand. And some of it we judge as bad and wrong because we don't understand it. It's time that we begin to open up. In the Bible it says, the meek shall inherit the earth. That means teachable, those who are teachable. So we are at a point in time in the evolution of humanity where we all need to become teachable. We need to open our minds. This is the month of understanding. We need to begin to have conversations with people that we don't know. Maybe we've never talked to a woman in a headdress. Maybe we need to do that. Maybe we've never talked to somebody who is transgender. Maybe we need to do that. Maybe we've never talked to somebody who happens to be gay. Maybe we need to do that. Maybe we need to start having conversations about all manner of things so that we can experience wholeness. You see, wholeness doesn't happen by accident. It happens by us taking our thinking, taking our journey, and allowing ourselves to come to that idea of oneness. Oneness means all of us are in it together. There is no them and us. There's only this now moment, this one humanity. It's up to us to begin to love. And especially in church, hello. Especially in church. You know, if we're going to say we're Christians, well, Christ only taught love, nothing else. So we must love. We must find it in our hearts to find a way to come to understand that which we don't currently understand. And by doing that, we are making that journey to wholeness. We're beginning to see life in a new way. I guarantee everybody here has met somebody who's transgender, whether you know it or not. I guarantee everybody here knows somebody who's gay. I guarantee you everybody here knows somebody who's heterosexual. And it's up to us to stop judging any of those things. We know people who are sick. We need to stop judging that. Remembering that sometimes an illness, again, is our journey to wholeness. It's allowing us to see something about our lives that might be a little out of whack, that if we return to the Christ, we'll find our way through. Healing happens not by accident, but on purpose. Organize your thinking. We must learn to use our thinking faculty and not let it use us. The reason many of us don't meditate is because we're letting our thinking use us. Meditation is the practice of sitting alone by ourselves with our thoughts and trying to calm the mind by using a mantra or something we can focus on that brings us back. When we do that, we begin to train the mind. We come to understand maybe why our life looks the way it does, because we see the judgments and criticisms, the frustrations and annoyances, all the things that are going on in our life and our world that we don't fully understand. And it's up to us to change all that. I met a man years ago, a woman. So a minister friend of mine, somebody who I'd worked with for many years, but couldn't really connect with. Knew him for many years. And one year at conference, he showed up as a woman in a beautiful suit, hair done nice, beautiful makeup. And the conversations within the group of ministers at that conference was so sad. People laughing behind her back, judging, criticizing. I was embarrassed. And I spent some time with her. I'd known her for years, but never could really connect. But in that moment, as a woman, I was able to connect with her for the first time, and I saw someone really, really wonderful. We had a beautiful conversation. And it was very difficult for her to show up in that way amongst all her peers. So she lived that way for a couple of years. Now, she was in her 60s at this point. Spent her whole life lying about who she was. She spent the next couple of years living as a woman, and her church fired her. They didn't approve. Her wife couldn't handle it. They'd been married 25 years. She married a man, so she couldn't handle this. She was embarrassed to go out in public with her. And so after 2 or 3 years, she returned to dressing like a man and acting like a man. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that she has to live a lie in order to make the rest of the world comfortable. I invite you today to find comfort in your heart for your path, for your journey, and for the life that you lead, for the person inside that you know you are. I invite you to love yourself enough, to be brave enough to show us who you are. I invite you to breathe into every moment the beauty, the grace, and the goodness of God, that you might look around you and see beauty everywhere you look, and that in the eyes of every man, woman, and child you come in contact with, you see the Christ. Because if you see that, gender, sexuality, career status, none of it will matter. The journey to wholeness is personal. I invite you to start it today. God bless.